What's the weirdest thing you've done as a result of social anxiety? Talking to my boss after a long day of exams and assignments. I go to leave, and she catches the door before I can leave to say goodbye. For some reason my wired brain made me give her Finjergens and say zoop as I walked away. Thought about it the whole way home. Asked a worker in the mall for assistance the other day. She looked at me really weird and said she didn't work there. I internally freaked out. I said I know and asked if she could still help. She agreed and turned around to walk in the direction I needed help, facing away from me, and I immediately power walked out of there. 1 year of high school I didn't have anyone in my lunch period that I was friends with. So instead of making friends with the other kids there, I'd eat really fast then say I had to go study in the library and would instead just wander around the halls until lunch was over. Except you weren't allowed to roam the halls like that, so I had to sneak around to avoid any teachers/hall monitors seeing me. I spent a lot of that time going from bathroom to bathroom, kind of just standing there waiting for time to pass. People keep asking these questions, so here are the answers. I didn't actually go in the library because I didn't want to spend my free time studying. I wasn't a huge fan of school in the first place. Sneaking around was honestly more appealing to me. We didn't have lunch together because there were too many students to have them all in the cafeteria at once, so lunch was broken up into 4 mini periods. Some kids ate lunch while the others were still in class and rotated in and out of the cafeteria. That's why we weren't allowed to roam the halls. Thanks for the concern, but I wasn't a super sad kid back then or anything, and I'm totally fine now. No, I'm not you. Tried to remind myself what date it is while at the bar counter. Got my beer. She said thank you. I said 16th. Walked past my classroom but didn't wanna look stupid doing a freshman 180, so I circled all the way around the building, missed it again, and walked to some random restroom nearby and sat in the restroom for like 5 minutes because I didn't want people to recognize me as a dude who keeps doing laps around the fucking chemical lab building. I get self-conscious of the speed of my window wipers. I'm always comparing to other cars, so I don't look like I'm overdoing it. I'm a retail cashier. A woman was buying a dress and humorously stated that she might be too fat for it. Me, never one to disagree with the customer, smiled and said, yup, I burned a few calories hitting my head on the counter after that exchange. I'm from Ireland, a Catholic enough country. I deliver pizzas, and one night a woman said God be with you as I was walking away, and I stumbled over my words and said peace be upon you like the fecking pizza pope. Cringed pretty hard walking away as she just looked at me. Edit, toppings be upon you my children. My parents always bring up the time when I was 4 and we were at this Mexican restaurant. Apparently they started singing happy birthday to me, to which I smiled, but then got nervous and promptly, confidently, leaned over and bit my dad on the arm. I have gotten out of my car, walked up to the house of the party, then walked back to my car, then walked back up to the house, then back to my car until I finally texted my friend at the party, asking him to come get me outside, so I wouldn't have to walk in front of the crowd alone. The other day at my small office I went to the bathroom to fix my shirt which I had worn inside out. When I went into the stall the bathroom was empty. As I flipped my shirt around someone walked into the stall next to me. I also used some toilet paper to wipe my nose, slight cold, and dropped the paper in the bowl. This triggered the auto flush sensor and it flushed. My predicament began when I realized I also had to pee, but since I had already used TP and flushed my twisted mind decided this would seem really weird to the person next door. Why would someone use the bathroom, flush, and then stand up and pee again? Said no one ever. But I couldn't. They might recognize my shoes and know who I was. So instead I hatched a clever deception. I left the stall and washed my hands to seem normal, despite that I hadn't even used THS bathroom. After drying I walked loudly to the exit and opened the door into the hall. Then I said oh excuse me, like I had accidentally bumped into someone else coming in, and walked right back in. I made sure to change the sound of my footsteps walking more quietly so that stallman would think I was a different person and not some freak playing bathroom charades. Then I went to the urinal and peed and then washed my hands again using the farthest sink so he couldn't spot my shoes. This moment haunts me still. It's kind of long-winded, but I hope it paints the picture. About 15 years ago I was a young teen browsing the electronics section of Walmart. As I was leaving that area, this guy and girl around my age were coming into the electronics area. They saw me and both enthusiastically said hey, like they were happy and surprised to see me. I didn't recognize them, but I thought maybe we had a class together or something. So I was like hey, how's it going? Feigning cheerfulness as I tried to place where I knew them from. They both looked at me weird and made a face, then walked past me to a guy and girl behind me, greeting them. I was so embarrassed and anxious I just got out of the electronics department as fast as I could without running and went to the next department over, which ended up being ladies' clothing, the bra and panty area. A female employee came over and asked if I needed help, looking at me confused because of the department. I was flustered and said, sorry, just trying to find electronics, to which she replied, oh, it's over this way, come with me. I didn't want to go back, but now I was obligated, so I followed her back, and as we approached I saw the two teens I had the awkward interaction with and their two friends all look up and stare at me. There ya go hun, the employee said. Then she started chatting with the cashier in electronics. At that time Walmart's electronics section was like a big square with only one opening for entrance and exit. Go deter theft. So now I'm trapped in this area with the people I just had the awkwardness with and the employee that just escorted me from women's clothes. I was so embarrassed and my whole body felt hot from anxiety. I just blankly stared at the video games behind the glass until the other people left, and then I took off. Driving to a party, sat outside of it in my car the entire time, left. Next day, said I was there. I mean you were. I hide when I have to make important phone calls at work. I hate phoning people, yet went and got a job that required it, which is ridiculous. I'll hide my caller ID and go take a walk to calm myself down, then use my mobile to call clients away from the office so nobody is listening. I went into a store I used to work at expecting to see my coworkers so I could greet them. A lady was there, but I had no idea who she was. She asked me if she could help, and I stuttered a no. Then I stood and kind of tapped my feet around like I was a fucking tap dancer, and I tried apologizing, but instead said I'm not looking for you. She looked so confused, and I could feel my face getting red. I literally ran out. Not just walked, quickly ran and slammed into the door. It's heavy and hurt my arm. Though injured, I trudged on. I heard her call out and ask if I was okay as I ran out. Now I can never go back. Not me, but something I saw today and see a lot in general on public transport. Guy gets on the bus, sees that every bench already has one person on it. Not a big deal. They're built for two people, and while everyone likes their space, we also understand that it's an inevitability that when the bus gets full it's not a big deal to sit next to a stranger for 10 minutes. Not this guy. Walks the length of the bus to check for an empty, then returns to the middle doorway and chooses to stand there for the entire trip, 40 minutes that I was on. Even when someone got off he slowly looked at the newly emptied bench but remained standing, glancing back at it every so often. I knew exactly what he's thinking. Will people judge me for sitting down on my own now, after standing for so long? Yeah, better stay standing, so it looks intentional, like I want to be standing. No you idiot, that's what's making me judge you. Just sit down and be comfortable. Literally no one cares. Not even uncommon. I see similar behavior weekly. Edit, for the folks saying but you cared, that's why we're anxious. I only remember this guy because he stuck to the awkward behavior. If he'd just sat down like a normie I'd have already forgotten him. He created what he was anxious about by being anxious about it. It's like a dog biting you because it can sense you're afraid of being bitten. I'll admit the reason I pick up on this behavior is because I used to suffer from regular anxiety, but I recovered when I progressively realized that 9/10 times it was just me being in my own head causing the problems. Nobody really gives a damn what I'm doing. And 30 seconds after I leave everyone who saw me has already forgotten I existed. One time, I had to leave someone a voicemail. So I wrote out exactly what I had to say and read it like a script when I left the message. Something about making calls really gets me anxious, and I forget what I was going to say, or it gets jumbled. Scripts help, although I'm better at calls now. This was years ago.
Thanks for watching.
Be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to be entered into our iMac giveaway.